Bonaduce, life coach. Danny Bonaduce, life coach. He was a
It is, in fact, Life Coach time. I am Danny Bonaduce, and here's the thing. Danny Bonaduce, Life Coach, brought to you by Goldberg Jones. Divorce for men. Call 1-800-DIVORCE. Oh, by the way, the phones are pretty well ringing. I forgot, we'll take your emails for the Life Coach, too, at lifecoach@KZOK.com. Now, here's a little thing for you. Free tip from Danny Bonaduce, Life Coach. I got this one. Will was talking about Metafast and losing 40 pounds. If your husband and or wife all of a sudden lost a whole bunch of weight, they're totally divorcing you. All right. I thought to give you that information. Let's go right to the phone and talk to Brenda in Renton. Hello, Brenda.
Hi, Danny.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
We're good. What can we do for you?
Well, my question is sort of a two-part question. I'm approaching the end of my 90-day waiting period for my divorce.
Right.
And in my paperwork, I indicated to the courts that we had a domestic partnership before we got married, and I called it a committed, intimate relationship. And when I got
who's this, Gwyneth Paltrow? Who says that kind of stuff?
Well, when I got the paperwork back from my respondent, he's admitting that we were in a domestic partnership, but he's denying that we were in a committed, intimate relationship. So one of my questions is, how do I prove that we were?
Well, I guess the first question I have is back at you, which is, why are you trying to prove this? What is it that you stand to gain?
What do you gain? Right, that's what I was wondering.
Well, so I have some debt that was accrued, some tuition debt that was accrued during that period when I was in the domestic partnership. And I don't think I'm going to ask him to pay that back, but he's asking me actually to pay him half of what I paid towards my tuition loan, because he says it was community income that I used for individual debt.
I'm always glad Rick Jones is here, but this is one you have to follow. What's up with all this?
Sure. Well, there definitely is reasons why she may want to go down that road. For example, if they're just finishing up a 3-year marriage, well, the court may look at it a lot differently if the reality is that they've been together for 13 years in a relatively committed way. And that means things like cohabitation, whether they had children together, whether they commingled their funds, all things like that. So there very well could be a reason. At this point, though, it really becomes for the trier of fact. So you tell your story. You give the pieces of the pie, the evidence, if you will, that the court's going to consider. You can't stop him from telling his side of the story either, and presumably the truth will prevail.
And by the way, this is a side note. Thank you very much for the call, Brenda. How often do you feel that the truth prevails in one of these things? Because I just think everybody's lying. Everybody's lying. How does the judge know who's lying the least?
Boy, that's a tough one. Unfortunately, the courts are they're put in a position of trying to test credibility.
Right.
And when two people are going through a divorce, unfortunately, it really brings out the nasty side of human nature.
It does.
So I don't envy the job they have to do.
No, God bless those judges, working their little robes off.
This is Danny Bonaduce with special guest Rick Jones from Goldberg Jones, 1-800-DIVORCE. If you've got a question for either Danny or Rick Jones, 800-252-1025. Gary and Poulsbo, you are on with Danny and Rick.
Hey, Gary.
Hi, Danny and Rick.
What's up, man?
I had a question. My son had gone through a divorce, and he was in jail when that happened, and he had asked the judge for a continuance until he could get out. He had no representation, and is there a way, so obviously he did not go well for him as far as the terms go. Is there a way that he can go back on that and renegotiate some of those things?
Now, how often do you hear that, Rick? Yeah. Is there a way to go back?
We hear that a lot.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, 98% of the time, the answer is no. It's a very, very rare circumstance. And frankly, an attorney's really going to have to probably spend a few minutes with you to try and unearth any reasons if they are there. I haven't heard one yet from you. Unfortunately, being in jail is not going to be a good enough excuse. Somebody's still able to hire an attorney.
Right, and the fact that the kid was in jail, I'm sorry about that, but that's all. It may lean against somebody. Well, he wasn't because he's in jail. He probably did something bad, at least in the eyes of the court. Yeah. So there's no way for this gentleman to go back in time.
What I will ask our listener, though, is do they have children together?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So the issues of purely financials, in other words, dividing up assets and liabilities, and maybe that it wasn't even relevant to them, that's the part that really he can't go back on. But when it comes to a parenting plan and even child support, there is a built-in ability to try and have that reviewed or potentially modified, and there's timeline issues there, so it gets a little bit complex, but both of those issues are things that he can readdress. Don't think of it, though, as another bite at the apple.
Right, but they can readdress it. Thank you very much for the call, Gary.
The next caller for Danny Bonaduce, life coach, and Rick Jones from Goldberg Jones, 1-800-DIVORCE, is Denise in Tacoma.
Denise in Tacoma, what do you got for us?
I'm currently going through a divorce. I have 2 very young children, 1 and 2.5. My soon-to-be ex-husband has severe ADHD. I want to know the best approach to limit his visitation because I believe he's unsafe with the kids.
Now, do you believe he is unsafe with your kids because of ADHD? That ADHD, is that what you're going to go to the court with and say, he's got severe ADHD, I don't think he should be around the kids, they're unsafe? Is that what you're going with?
That's correct. No more than 1 kid at a time or supervised visits. He's been in over 16 car accidents, and he got fired from his job because of reckless endangerment.
All right, what do you got for us?
Okay. I wasn't expecting to hear that last part.
Me either. All of a sudden, I'm going, no, you don't have a case at all, no. But now there might be some there.
Sure. Well, the courts absolutely are concerned about the safety of children when creating a parenting plan. Normally what they're hearing, though, up front is issues of drug abuse, domestic violence, real catchwords in our society that are real and relevant concerns. They're going to be a little bit shocked, I think, when they first hear what the basis is. But when you give details, and especially we talk about evidence once again, and when you talk about 16 car accidents in a period of time,
that's crazy.
That's enough to give rise. So it's going to be a tough one.
All right, thanks. So, it looks like you may have cause. You might want to go in there and address the court. Thanks.
If you've got a question for Rick Jones from Goldberg Jones, 1-800-DIVORCE, you can call 800-252-1025. The next caller we're going to put on with you guys is Marie in Gig Harbor.
Hey, Marie, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
We're well. What can we do for you?
Well, so I've been divorced 3 years ago in May, and my ex-husband got our house. And we were appointed it's okay, I didn't want it was met. But
okay,
anyway,
let's go there.
We were appointed a special master. I visited with him shortly after our divorce, and we met with a realtor, and the house is not in good condition. And so I re-looked over our paperwork, and it says that we were supposed to work together to come to a solution, to fix it up, to put it on the market. And my ex-husband, I looked back, and I'm thinking, if this man was agreeable, I might not have divorced him. So how do I get myself out of this situation?
Well, is there some money coming back to you then as like a percentage or a flat fee or flat number that's coming back to you upon the sale of the house?
Yes.
Okay.
Whatever I think it was I don't know if it's the value at the time, but now it's been 3 years.
Sure. Well, the fact that there was a special master appointed meant that there obviously was going to be expected continuing issues, and that's the person to work through in general. But 2 of the things that come to my mind, well, I guess one is to bring a motion back to the court called a motion to enforce. And what you're arguing is that there is a current and ongoing waste of this community asset based on his lack of upkeep, and that your remedy, where you're leading the court to direct you, is to allow you to come in at your expense but reimbursed by him to get this house ready and get the house on the market and get the house sold.
And that sounds like something a reasonable court, and that's usually code for the judge, a reasonable court would do. Like, hey, the house is winnowing away. I mean, I don't know all the facts, but the house, nobody's doing anything with the house. Somebody should.
Well, they're certainly open to the concept because they don't want to see the waste either. They don't want to see both people get harmed on this. At the same time, having done this thousands and thousands of times, we know that the other side of the story is going to bring a relevant and credible side of the story.
Right. Oh, good, man. Hey, by the way, you are listening to special Rick Jones of Goldberg Jones edition of Life Coach.
Robert in Seattle, you're on with Danny Bonaduce and Rick Jones.
Hey, good afternoon or good morning to y'all.
Good morning.
Okay, let me give you a quick rundown on the situation here.
Okay.
Now, my daughter lived with this guy for around over 8 years.
Right.
I believe that's a common law marriage here in the state of Washington. After that amount of time, well, she came home one day or went home one day and found the house that they lived in was completely empty. The guy moved out, took everything with him. She just chalked it up as a loss, saying bad luck for a guy. That was over 4 years ago that happened.
Right.
She's wondering now what her recourse is. Is there a statute of limitations on when she can go back and try to get some of this stuff that she paid for back from this guy?
Well, what do you think? Because I was in California when this question came up. Not this question, but common law marriage came up. And it turned out, because after 7 years, this is a common law marriage. It turned out, no, it wasn't. Is this a common law? 8 years in the state of Washington. Is this a common law marriage?
No, it's not.
Whoa, that's going to wake some people up.
No such thing as common law marriage. So nothing happens by pure operation of law in this state when it comes to calling someone married or divorced.
That's cool.
In terms of a statute of limitations, boy, it's really not so much a statute or defined, but what it really is sort of a test of, really? which is a big legal term.
The really law.
So it's a smell test, I guess, if you want to call it that too, which is 4 years later in time, she arguably could go to the court claiming that this was what's called a meretricious relationship,
Right.
that it was a marriage-like, if you want to call it
Right.
that. But even then, I'm assuming the types of things we're talking about is household furnishings,
Right. Maybe a flat screen.
electronics,
Yeah.
Things like that. And I just can't imagine it being worth it.
Yeah, and I get it, but you know what? Until you walk into it, it's not as much trouble as you think to get a divorce. I have done it. But if you want to fight, then you better be ready because it's a huge, huge drag. Everybody there's a little takeaway, and I got this from talking to Rick. Get your ducks in a row because if anybody wants to fight with you or if you want to fight with anybody because you're getting a divorce, it can be a really ugly, arduous situation. You should make it as easy as possible on yourself and others.
Paul in Tacoma, you're on with Danny Bonaduce and special guest Rick Jones from Goldberg Jones, 1-800-DIVORCE.
Good morning.
Morning, Paul.
Hey, my divorce went through December 23rd of last year.
Right.
Ooh, great Christmas present. When do I get my divorce papers?
Okay, it went through December what?
December 23rd of the last year.
Last year, and he wants his divorce papers. When are they coming?
Where'd you get divorced?
King County.
Okay. Go down to the King County Courthouse, give them your case number, and have them print a copy, a certified copy. You'll have to pay, a few bucks for that, but get a certified copy. The divorce papers have already been signed and completed. They're done.
So unless something's screwed up, he's divorced. He just got to go to the courthouse and get it.
Yeah, right, unless something's screwed up. A lot of people assume that the court actually does something other than just make rulings and sign documents.
Right.
They don't. They're not there to try and make sure you've got a copy of your divorce papers.
Right, so go down and get it, man. Go to the King County Court.
That was a nice and easy one.
That was a nice, easy one. I love it when that happens.
Well, we'll probably change that with our next call.
Okay.
Jane in Bremerton, you're on with Danny and Rick Jones.
Hi. I was awarded primary and sole custody of mine and my ex's 10-year-old daughter.
Right.
And because of all this weirdness that he's done, my daughter's chosen not to really have any contact with him.
Right.
She needs orthodontic work, and I sent him a real nice, letter stating that I needed some sort of help. And he's saying that, that's a no-go. He wants to see the kid, as he calls her.
Right.
And, I just wanted to know, is he responsible lawfully to do that, or...
There's a put your lawyer on a retainer joke here to be had over the... I didn't even have to make it, apparently. I just had to say that. Thank you. What do you got for us there, Rick Jones?
Jane, check your support order, because in the support order that was created in the divorce, it'll have specific a section talking about expenses not included in the transfer payment. And often that's things like non-emergency medical, which is where
Right.
orthodontia falls in. So it's usually going to speak to it. And if it says that he has a share of responsibility, usually it's on a percentage basis. If he has a share of responsibility, then you can seek to enforce that through the support order.
All right. And by the way, that has come up in my life. It wasn't a hard thing. I kid about my ex-wife a lot on this radio on the station, and I do hate her because she took my money. But aside from that, she's a lovely woman. But that came up that she had a bill for something at the hospital, and rather than just talk about it, I just paid it. That's a very smart thing to do. A lot of times, you're so used to fighting, you're just going to fight no matter. Sometimes it's just better to do your share.
John in Seattle, you're on next with Danny Bonaduce and Rick Jones from Goldberg Jones, 1-800-DIVORCE.
Hi, I had to refinance my house, and I made the mortgage payment last 2 years, 100% of it on my own. But my decree states that my wife will be cooperative in the refinancing of that debt and signing documents to that effect. But I got a reimbursement check for the escrow, which I paid in the past 2 years, or actually last year. And she's not signing it, but it's got both our names on that check.
Yeah.
So how do I go about getting her to sign that? It's a $1,900 check.
Sure. Well, the ultimate answer is you go to court on what's called a motion to enforce. But for $1,900, you probably don't want to do that either. So the reality is you want to give her the credible and real-life threat of doing this motion and let her know that if you have to go through this process and hire an attorney and bring this in front of the court, that you're going to ask for attorney fees too. So this $1,900 or the signature you're asking for is going to turn into a whole lot more costly for her if she doesn't play the right way.
Wow,
That was a good one right there from Mick Jones, Goldberg Jones.
We've got one more caller we can get to for now. Dennis in Mill Creek. Good morning.
Hey, Dennis.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
We're good. What's up?
Hey, listen, my son turned 18 in February, and he graduates high school this month. So our support order, it ends this month. Been paying it since he was 2. there looks to be some open-ended kind of verbiage on the thing that it can continue after the fact for other schooling. She can request it, but that she has to sort of match the funds. Does that sound normal?
Sure. There's going to be a section in your support order we keep referring to called post-secondary education. And in there, a lot of times when two people are divorcing, they're divorcing when the children are early and or young enough where it just says the issue is reserved and either party can bring the issue at some point in time before the support order terminates. In your case, it sounds like there may have already been some very specific language written, and whatever language was written in there is truly the law. There may be some ambiguity in it, but if it says, yes, post-secondary education will be covered, and yes, both you and she has an obligation, that's as enforceable as the original order was.
Wow, ooh, that's rock solid, that one.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks, and good luck. I appreciate it. Hey, that's all we have for time for Dave Bonaduce, Life Coach. I want to thank Rick Jones from Goldberg Jones. He not only sponsors this segment, but every now and again he drops by and blesses us with his expertise. Thanks, man. It's Dave Bonaduce, Life Coach, brought to you by Goldberg Jones Divorce for Men. Call 1-800-DIVORCE.